Hello and welcome to the National Spectrum Consortium Spotlight. I'm Sal D'Itri, and most of you know I'm chairman of the National Spectrum Consortium. Well, today I'm excited to launch a new initiative. This is the first in a series of 5-minute brief interviews that we'll do with NSC members. Each of them will have a theme, and we're going to focus on some of the most challenging issues facing the National Spectrum Consortium and the Department of Defense related to 5G and spectrum. We hope that you'll find these interviews interesting, informative, and perhaps they'll bring our community together a little bit during these challenging times. Well, up first, I'm excited to have my good friend and newly elected vice chairman of the National Spectrum Consortium, Randy Clark. He's a client partner for the Department of Defense for Verizon Enterprise Solutions. And today we're going to talk about one of Randy's favorite topics, which is zero trust. Randy, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, Sal. Glad to be here, sir.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job as vice chair. Anyone who steps up to the board has a real passion for 5G and spectrum. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing daily at Verizon.
Primarily, my responsibility at Verizon is to do business development for the Department of Defense and national security agencies. That entails the integration and development of new systems architectures across the Verizon portfolio to fill current and future capability gaps.
Yeah, so let's jump in on the zero trust. First of all, what is it? Why is it so important at this moment? I've heard you talk about it quite a bit, but for those who aren't oriented with zero trust, why so important and why now?
Well, thanks. So as the name entails, it's trust nothing, trust no one at any time. And it's about the enterprise, not trusting anything inside or outside of its perimeter. It's an evolution in cybersecurity thinking. It's not, it's really about the use of existing tools like Active Directory and identity management, but in an integrated and automated way. And so there's two fundamental types of zero trust, hardware-based and software-based. Hardware-based is eloquent for an enterprise closed-loop network. Software-based zero trust gives you the agility to move from data lake to edge over any IP modality.
Yeah, and as you and I are tracking 5G, we're seeing a lot of that in the evolution of 5G, where many of the components have now moved up into the cloud. How is that now relevant as the nation's rolling out 5G? It's a hot topic here in Washington. How does zero trust play into that?
Well, the concern is that there's a known compromise of the microelectronic supply chain, and that's in the news. The reliance on cloud-based technologies, the innovation that 5G, low latency, high bandwidth brings, and edge compute to mission critical systems are all a matter of national security. And zero trust gives us the methodology and the architecture to protect data in transit so we can leverage all of the goodness that's going to come from the 5G ecosystem.
Yeah, and I've heard you talk about, applying zero trust in different parts of the network, using different technologies. I've even heard you talk about quantum computing at times. Look, how do we boil this down to something that, as we look at the consortium's efforts in 5G, is it applicable in a smart warehouse, out in the field, a little bit of everything? Tell us a bit more about where you see zero trust first being implemented.
Well, based on the two primary research vectors coming from OSD in the National Spectrum Consortium for the 4 RPPs, zero trust is one of those primary research vectors, as well as dual use. The importance of getting this right the first time is a matter of national security. So the money spent and the experimentation, the iteration that happens is truly to come out with the reference architectures that we can stand up 5G instances for the DoD, federal agencies, and enterprise in a trusted manner based on ecosystem and supply chain issues we're facing. This is critical research.
Yeah, and do you see some of this bleeding over in the commercial market? Because, as you and I talk, DoD being among the largest private enterprises in the United States, do you see some of the technology, having a dual use opportunity out there in the commercial market?
Absolutely. To me, it's identical. It's just a shift in nomenclature. In enterprise, it's called blackout manufacturing. What that means is that I can continue to manufacture when I lose connectivity from the grid, or I suffer a T1 cut at the DMARC, or I'm under a cyber attack, or all three. In the DoD, we look at mission critical systems that are going to be supported by 5G standalone, having those same three major pillars in the reference architecture. We need power resiliency, we need telecommunications isolation, we need zero trust for the data flow from the lake all the way to the edge. This research is going to benefit this nation in many ways.
Yeah, smart grids, a lot of shipping, things of that right now, while we're all stuck at home, we've become dependent on these things. So yeah, great points. Anything else? We got a little bit of time. Anything else you'd like to close with?
Well, maybe just talk a little bit about those three pillars for the reference architecture. Power resiliency is not just about generator backup or fuel cell. It's really about the generation and storage of renewable energy on site. That way, when you lose connectivity from the grid, you've got your own power stored and you're generating your own power. So it adds a lot of longevity to the sustainment of your IT. Without IT in this environment, you have no smart anything. That coupled with telecommunications isolation is really about standalone 5G, having the core and the switch on base or next to the prem, so I can do authentication, provisioning, encryption, and if I lose connectivity to the cloud or to the enterprise, I still have independent site operations. And then, of course, zero trust is what we've already talked about. This is my ability to protect the data in transit over any IP modality anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I like the way you brought that together and summed that up for us. Hey, I appreciate your time, Randy. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this episode. Great thanks to you again for jumping in as Vice Chair of the Consortium and for helping shed some light on Zero Trust today. Thanks for everyone for watching this first episode of Spotlight. Feel free to reach out to Randy and myself if you have any questions about the consortium or would like to discuss Zero Trust further. And just a final note, as we kick this off, we hope all of you, our members, are staying safe, and we look forward to seeing all of you in person in the near future. Thank you. Thanks for joining.